and welcome to another Red Heart video. I'm Mary Beth Temple for Hooked for Life, and in this video we're going to take a close look at the Buffalo Plaid crochet hat for him. Now this is made in Red Heart Heatwave. When you click on the link below to download the free pattern, you can find out all about the materials. While you're down there, to subscribe to the channel for fresh content weekly on knitting, crocheting, and other yarny stuff. This is a very simple colorwork pattern. We have it for you in chart form, so you can follow along with us. And let's get started making this hat. The first thing we're going to look at is the starting chain. Now you may notice that I am using the B color instead of the A color, but the reason for that is that the A color was a little bit dark in the video and I want you to see what's happening. So I have switched colors, but only so that you could see what's going on with my stitches. So the first thing it says is with A, chain 72. I of course am making a smaller one. Join with slip stitch to first chain, making sure not to twist chain. Now a lot of people have problems with this. The reason is, since we're setting up to work in the round, if we have a twist in the chain, then it will be visible in the hem of the hat or whatever else you're working on. So there's two ways to do this. One is to do what I just did, which is pull it horizontally. If you give it a tug, you can see which side is up and which side is down, and you can see that there are no twists. And then you can go around this way and join in the first stitch. Alternatively, if you're super concerned or you have a very long chain, remember mine's small, so it's easier to see, you can lay it flat on the table like I'm doing and make sure that there are no twists and then join. So if you lay it flat, you can also see. Now, if you've watched any of these videos before here on Yarnspirations, you know that I always advocate working in the back or bump of the chain instead of the front or the V for a couple of reasons. One is it's super easy to see. Here's my bump, so I know where the stitches go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But also for something like this that is a hat, where that foundation chain is forming the base of the hem, working in the back or bump instead of in the front or V makes a much more elastic finish. And that is super useful for something like a hat. So we're going to join with slip stitch to first chain, making sure not to twist. There's my slip stitch. And then it says chain 2, 1, 2, and there's a note that reminds me that the chain 2 does not count as a stitch. And I'm going to half double crochet in each chain around. So to make sure that I have the right number of stitches, I'm going to make sure to put my first half double crochet in that chain where the round join was. So here I am working in my back or bump. There we go. And I'm going to half double crochet in each stitch around, and you're going to wind up with 72, which is the same number that you chained. Now let's take a look at that foundation chain, because I was just talking about how neat it is and how much more elastic. See how you get the little V's going on here? And it's super stretchy. So this is just a nicer edge for things like hats and cuffs. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my round, and then we'll take a look at the second round. All right, here's the brim of my little teeny tiny hat. There's my nice elastic edge, and I'm going to join the round. So I'm going to find that chain 2 at the beginning, and I'm going to insert my hook and just make a slip stitch. So there is my first round completed. For the second round, it says chain 1. Remember, these chains don't count as stitches. Half double crochet front post, HDCFP, around next stitch. So remember, we're ignoring that chain. So for half double crochet front post, we're going to yarn over, insert the hook around the throat of the stitch. Now it says right to left in the instructions. That's right to left if you're right-handed. Obviously it's the opposite if you're left-handed. Yarn over and draw up a loop yarn over, and draw through all 3. So it's a half double crochet, but instead of working in the top of the stitch, we're working around the throat. Now the next stitch is an HDCBP, which is half double crochet back post. And so it's the same idea, but instead of working through the front of the work, we're working through the back of the work. So yarn over for our half double crochet. Now we're working in the back of the work. We're going to insert our hook to the right and come up on the left around the throat of the hook, not in the stitch. Yarn over, pull it up, yarn over, draw through 3. So we have texture on this side, and now we have texture on the other side. The other cool thing about this stitch is if it makes the brim sort of reversible. So if you need to roll it up, if you want a closer fit, you can do that. So we're going to do that all the way around. So let's look at those stitches once again. Half double crochet front post, yarn over hook, insert the hook around the throat of the next stitch. Down at the right, up at the left, yarn over, draw it through, yarn over, draw through 3, and then back post. Yarn over, insert the hook. Now I'm making a big production of turning this work around. You will develop a rhythm and you don't have to go that crazy. But I want to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. So down and up, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, pull through 3. All right, so you're going to do front post, back post, half double crochet front post, half double crochet back post, all the way around, and join the round. And then it says you're going to repeat the second round 5 times more. So once this round is finished, you're just going to keep going. And what will happen is the front post stitches will line up in the front post stitches, and the back post stitches will line up in the back post stitches. So actually, the next 5 rounds are actually even easier because you can see very simply where you're going. So I'm going to finish this round and just put one more on so you can take a closer look. And then I want to move on and get set up for the color work. Okay, let's take a look at the mini brim of my mini hat. We have our front post and back post rounds. And then when you've completed all those, where it says next round, it's just chain 1, single crochet in each stitch around, and join the round, which I have already done. And now we're moving on to the color work. So it says begin working chart on page 2, noting that each square is equal to 1 single crochet, and reading the rounds from right to left. Let's take a look at that. So here's our chart. So each square is 1 single crochet. And because we're working in the round, we're always reading from right to left. You know how sometimes when you work in rows, sometimes it's this way and sometimes it's this way. But because we're working in the round, we're always heading in the same direction. So we're always going to read from right to left. Now, the next note that it says is carry color not being used along top of work. Change colors by drawing contrast color through last 2 loops on hook. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. But we're going to essentially crochet over the colors that we're not using because we don't want to have big nasty floats on the back. So a float is when yarn goes from one side to the next without being used, and sometimes we leave that on the back of the work, but we don't want to do that for the hat because we don't want it to be out there in the world where it could get caught on fingers. So I'm at the beginning of my color work round. Remember, those chains don't count. So it's 3 single crochets, 1, 2. Now on my third one, and this one time I have to add a color. So all I'm going to do is pull up the new color of yarn. I'm going to pull up a fold, maybe 4 to 6 inches from the end, and just leave it hanging. That first stitch is going to be a little loose, but it doesn't matter because we're going to weave that in and tighten it up. So the note says make sure that you're pulling the new color, the contrast color, through the last 2 loops of the old stitch. So that's a very standard rule in color work. Whenever you get to the last yarn over of the last stitch in the old color, you do it in the new color. And we do that so the hat matches the shoes. You want to make sure as you're moving forward that the color of the top of the stitch and the color of the bottom of the stitch are the same. And it's also telling me we're going to work over the yarn that we're not using. So there I did my yarn over in the last, did my last yarn over in the new color. And now I'm going to do 3 single crochet in this color, and I'm carrying that work along. So 1, 2, 3. Now, last yarn over of the last stitch in the old color is done with the new color, and it's sitting here waiting for me because I worked over the yarn. So I'm going to yarn over and pull that through. Now I'm going to do 3 stitches in this color, working over the other yarn. 1, 2, oops, had a little split there. 3, this is my last stitch in the old color, so I'm going to do the last yarn over in the new color. But do you see how easy that is? Because both of the yarn colors are traveling with me. When I need the new color, it's sitting right there waiting for me. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's my last stitch in the old color, so that last yarn over is going to be in the new color. So let's take a look and see how that works. So here's my stitches marching along, but here's the wrong side of the work, and you can see, other than that tail that I have to weave in later, there's no big ugly mess on the inside. So that's really all there is to that. By following the chart, I'm going to work 3 rows the same, 1, 2, 3, and then on the next 3 rows, I'm going to change the colors up. So I'm going to use the B color, pardon me, the A color and the C color instead of the B color and the A color. So that's really all there is to that, because essentially you're working on single crochet. The only thing that's going to change is the colors, and we just looked at how to do that. So you're going to repeat the chart until rows 1 through 6 are worked 4 times. So here's rounds 1 through 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to do those a total of 4 times, and you can see it in the picture. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th one's up on the gather. You're going to, when you're done, you're going to leave a long tail with your last stitch. Using a running stitch, gather the top edge of a hat with the long tail of the yarn, pull tight and secure. And then you can go ahead and make your pom-pom if you want, and sew that right along the top. So thank you so much for joining us here for the Buffalo Plaid Crochet Hat for Him. I hope you had a great time. I'm Mary Beth Temple from Hooked for Life. Please subscribe to the channel for fresh content weekly on knitting, crocheting, and other yarny stuff. And we look forward to seeing you again here real soon. Bye-bye.